Welcome to FPB's Meet the Candidates. This Cable 10 series allows you, the viewer, to get a closer look at our local candidates as we discuss issues that are important to our community. We have gathered questions via social media and email. We've talked to different groups in the community, and we've gathered some good stuff to talk about with our candidate today. This is all leading up to the general election, which is on November 8th, and we would encourage you to go vote at that time. Before that, though, you really need to get informed, and that's why we're here today. So we're going to talk with our guest, and it is Michael Mueller, and he is running for County Judge Executive. So let's welcome Michael.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
Absolutely. I thank you for being here. You currently serve as a magistrate on our fiscal court, but there might be some people out there who don't know who you are. So why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you have decided to move to make the big run for County Judge Executive.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. First, I want to thank the Plant Board for doing these interviews because I think it's important for the community to know what's going on and learn the candidates. My name is Michael Mueller. My wife and I, Andrea, own Inside Out Design, which is a landscape design build construction firm here in Frankfort. I've been a magistrate now for 3.5 years, and it's been very eye-opening for our community. I'm proud of the fiscal court that I serve with. Over the last couple of years, we've been able to lower taxes twice while increasing county pay by over 15%. We've also helped fund the state-of-the-art Humane Society and have initiated the Lakeview Park Master Plan. I've always been interested in helping people and making a positive impact on our community. It all started with chamber leadership classes that I took, and then I served on the chamber board, and then I worked on City and Sheriff's Police Academy, Citizens Police Academy, which really taught me the inner workings of our community. It was very interesting. But when people ask me, why are you looking to run for Franklin County Judge Executive? It's because of my children, Jewel and Vance. Jewel is she is a freshman at Western Kentucky University, and our son is a senior at Frankfort High. And, I want to be part of building a community that can offer our younger generation somewhere that they can have a good paying job, a great place to raise a family, which will make our community more sustainable.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, you have an opponent, and I want to ask you, what do you think distinguishes you from your opponent?
That's a great question. A lot of things that I've been doing in this community probably for the last 10 years is volunteering. I've been helping businesses, nonprofits, anybody who needs help, because that's who I am. So I think that's a very strong point for me. Another big thing for me is, as a business owner, I started on the ground, at 15 years old, mowing grass. Got into the landscape industry, been digging ditches and things like that. But now I'm president and owner of a good company, and so I'm very proud of that. Because I think it takes a certain individual to be able to bob and weave with economies and HR stuff and different things that are thrown at you on from a day-to-day basis. Being a business owner, so for me that's a big thing, and I really think my 3.5 years on the fiscal court has made a huge difference. I'm looking at Frankfort through a different lens now. When I was just, a citizen and a business owner, you see it one way. But after working on the fiscal court, it's really been an eye-opener as far as good things, bad things, things we can improve on, things we do well. So for me, that's a huge benefit.
Okay. An important part of public service is community support. Can you share with me any civic organizations or nonprofits that you have actively assisted in recent years? Absolutely.
I've worked with American Red Cross when they were still here in Frankfort. I really enjoyed it. That was probably the first one. On a state organization, I was president of the Kentucky Nursery Landscape Association that was based here in Franklin County. I've done a bunch of work for the Humane Society. We've donated drainage work and things like that down at their old building. It's just really been fulfilling to be able to help people in our community that are doing great things. And, that goes for, being on the fiscal court,
Right.
aiding with, when people come to us needing assistance and money. So
Sure.
I feel like that has a lot to do with it also.
Okay. You've been on the fiscal court, and I want to ask, so what do you think right now is the most pressing issue facing the court?
Right now, facing the court, it's an interesting time in history because, we're coming out of this pandemic.
Yep.
So it's a good problem to have, but we have ARPA funds coming from the feds that we can do something transformational in our community, and even in our training, they're saying do something that you would never be able to do on your own, and that's kind of kicked the Lakeview Park plan off to hopefully work on that. So we have all kinds of things going on in the fiscal court, but they're all positive. We work well together. We're getting things done. I mean, economic development's always a big thing. Who, what, where, what are we doing? I think we really need to start planning for the future so a lot of these problems that are kind of ending up in our laps now don't happen later. So for me, that's a big focus as far as heading forward.
All right. You talked about the ARPA funds that we're going to have. So do you have certain priorities for investments?
Yes. Well, I mean, we are heavily investing in the sewer project on the west side of town because they're in a bad spot over there, and we all realize that. We're teaming up with the plant board on the Broadband, which is $3 million over the next 3 years, which is a huge thing. We've done some stuff like bought new police vehicles. We bought 9 new electric vehicles for all the school resource officers and things like that. So we've been using little bits at a time. But ultimately, I think a big part of it will be the park project. So we're looking to basically rebuild the park, the softball fields, multi-use things, an amphitheater, to try to attract, for our community and for tournaments and things like that, to really work on some tourism money and things like that will help everybody.
Right. Well, a big part of that is knowing how to work within a budget. So what is the current budget for the fiscal court, and what experience do you have working with larger budgets, especially one as large as that?
So right now the budget's all over the place because of all these other funds and things that are coming through and out. But right now I think we're right around 27 million is our budget. A lot of that is employees, staff, things like that. I'm very familiar with budgets just because I'm a business owner. On a day-to-day basis, we're looking at budget numbers, costing jobs off. It's been really interesting lately, with the economy the way it is, how many things have changed. Supplies have gone up. We can't get supplies. It's kind of a new world. You're kind of having to bob and weave, and I don't know if it's going to go back to the way it was, or we're going to be dealing with this for a long time. So as far as budgets, we do a yearly budget within our company, but then we have monthly reports, that our office manager gives us, and we sit down, we analyze, what's going well, what's not, where can we do better, things like that. So I feel like I'm very familiar with budgets.
Yeah. One thing that's going to be coming up, Franklin County's solid waste contract is up next year. And it's possible that the cost of those services will double from $2 to $4 million. So what measures would you support to make up that deficit?
Yeah, I think, and we have been heavily invested, because I'm on the solid waste committee also.
Oh,
as
okay.
part of the fiscal court. So, when all this came about was because fuel went up, the oil, lubricants, things like that. So they came to us and they said, we have a problem. It wasn't in the contract that they could do that, but we understand. We never thought this would have happened in history. So they were very good to work with. We went back and forth. The committee got together. Fiscal court thought it was best that the committee talk about it, which I was appreciative of. So we worked it out, and we worked it out with them. So what that means in the future, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to come back to us with, because prices are starting to come down a little bit. Diesel is up to $6, now it's under $5. So I know there's going to be increases. I don't think it will be 50% or 100% increase. I'm assuming we're going to have to bid it out, with other companies to see, but I really don't know I think we're just going to have to deal with it. People need their trash picked up, and I'm happy to see that our recycling numbers are going up.
Yep.
For me, that's a proud thing for Franklin County, that people are realizing that, recycling is important for our, world.
Right. Well, you mentioned the partnership with the Frankfurt Plant Board for the expanded broadband project. And the court did pledge $3 million for that project, and our board has pledged $5 million, and then we got a grant matching for $8
Okay.
million. If elected, do you commit to make good on that pledge of funds?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
There's no doubt. I think, and a lot of my calls from constituents are people that kind of live out in the county and don't have internet right now.
Right.
And so I think it's important, not just for our residents, but for future businesses that we can attract to our community to have the fastest, best, internet. So absolutely, I'm 100% behind that project.
Okay. Since the closure of the downtown YMCA, Frankfurt has had limited YMCA services. If elected, how will you be involved to bring new pool facilities to our community?
Yep. So 2 weeks ago, I actually talked to the mayor, and we went and had a conversation with the governor and his staff about where Frankfurt and Franklin County is right now without a pool. He agreed. He sees the need. So actually, we have a meeting set up 2 weeks from now with the governor, his staff, the mayor, the YMCA, Kentucky State University, to try to get something worked out, because that's a top priority in our community. So, we've been talking with the school system. Mark Kopp is talking about doing a kind of an auditorium and things like that on the west side.
Yeah.
With the Performing Arts Center. It's a big price tag, though. So
Yeah.
I think it's really going to take all of us working together to figure it out. But it is a very, very top priority
Yeah.
for this community right now. So it's something that's being worked on, but until something's worked out, it's, we can't really talk about things too much.
Okay. Well, the County Parks Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Franklin County Fiscal Court, is setting up a sports tourism commission in the county. That commission will be tasked with finding a revenue stream that will fund the construction of a multi-sport complex at Lakeview Park. What are your expectations of that committee, and what is an acceptable timeline for their work?
So I am oodles excited about this.
Yeah.
So we actually had a park meeting yesterday.
Okay.
The firm that won the bid from the fiscal court was on with the attorney and the consultant. They answered a lot of questions we had as far as how it works and things like that. It will be on this month's agenda court item for the full court to vote on. Hopefully it will pass, and if it does, then they'll get started immediately. And so what that looks like is less than 6 months start to finish is their timeline. But probably within the next month, they'll want to come and meet with our tourism boards, the city commission, the city parks, our parks,
Okay.
to really kind of get a feel for how everything's set up right now. We're still in the point that there's a lot of unknowns. This is uncharted territory for us, but it's exciting because it could change the dynamics of Franklin County. So at this point, we don't know much more than we knew months ago,
Yeah.
but at least we're at the point to get this ball rolling. And once
Yeah.
the contract's signed, I think it will be very good for our community.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the city commission. My next question was, how do you think city government should be involved in that process?
Yeah, so I talked to a couple people today about that. They will be involved. We just, it's kind of like when I was talking to some of the commissioners and the mayor, they have taken some things on, like let's say the pool, and they've been working on that. Someone has to spearhead it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are. So we've decided Franklin County is going to spearhead the sports commission. So basically, once this contract's signed, the first thing that will happen is basically a meeting to talk about where we are and how we're going to move forward, because, we don't know right now what that looks like.
Right.
So they're going to be involved, probably the next step.
Okay. We're going to move on to a big topic around here is economic development and growth. I think I've asked you this last time you were here, but maybe some people didn't watch that interview. How would you define economic development?
Economic development is a big term. It's something I think we talked about last time. Everything we talk about today is about economic development. For me, economic development is getting the community in a position for success, for our children and grandchildren, to live here and be prosperous. I mean, in a nutshell, that's kind of where it is. I think in doing that, we need to probably take a step back. In my eyes, we need to go talk to business owners, and we need to see how things are going, how we can help them. If things are great or if they're not, what can we do to improve? Because kind of like an employee, if you have a happy employee, you have a happy company.
Yeah.
So for me, from looking at it from a government standpoint, I want to make sure all the businesses here are happy to be in Franklin County, and if there's anything they need, then we can help them with that. I think we need to, the city reported that there's almost 1 million square feet of empty office space. And I know for many years we were a great state government town. I think everybody can agree those times have changed. People are working from home, and I don't know if they'll come back. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
So I think really we need to spend some time looking at those buildings to figure out if they can be repurposed or if they need to be torn down and rezoned, or what we can do to open up some area, for infill and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, we'll move in that direction for a minute. What do you think is more important for Franklin County right now? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, and better utilizing our homes and storefronts?
I am a big proponent of using what we have, you know, and I think we talked about last time, the whole after World War II, you know, we sprawled and things like that, and we can't afford it, you know, the infrastructure and things like that. So for me, I would really love to look at, let's say, downtown. You know, I think we need to identify what's missing from downtown. I know there's been a big talk about there's no grocery store anymore, things like that. So I think we need to kind of look at maybe Lexington's model where they went out and actually brought the companies downtown,
Yeah.
because ultimately we have to have a thriving downtown for the rest of the community to be successful.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm all about infill and trying to use what we can.
Okay. We've talked about the Kentucky Capital Development Corporation before. So what is the role of KCDC, and how does it fit into your vision of economic development in our community?
I think KCDC is very important. You know, I'll kind of recap what we talked about before, and that is we need to take the politics out of it. We need to restructure that board in a way that it makes more sense. You know, the board needs to be built, and this is nothing about anybody on the board, but it needs to really be people from the community, you know, like say somebody from the plant board, somebody from water, you know, cable, industry. It needs to be people that will benefit from bringing business and industry here. So I think for me, that needs to be figured out and worked out in order for it to be truly successful. I think they're very important to our community. It's just, I think they need a little bit of redirection, and I think we'll be great.
Okay, so would you support the Fiscal Court's continued funding of the organization?
Absolutely. As, you know, as long as they're open, and you know, it'll probably be a little tough conversation, but I think, you know, and I've talked to Terry Bradshaw a lot about it, and she knows where I am on it, and so I think we just need to communicate with the city and the KCDC and just go from there.
Okay. Recently, the court voted to reject the Planning Commission's recommendation to deny a zone change to the Duncan Road property. Do you agree with that decision, and what's your view in general about rejecting recommendations?
You mean the zone change that we just passed?
Yes.
Right. So you know, that was years of different things that went round and round and round. You know, I mean, at some points we were like, where are we in this process? Because it went on for 2 or 3 years. So, you know, I think the Planning Commission does a good job. I think that's another area that we can improve on, and we need to take the time to kind of figure out what's working and what's not. I still think there's a lot of gray areas in our P&Z that are causing some of these problems.
Yeah.
But I think with the comprehensive plan that they're working on and things like that, it's going to give us a better roadmap for years to come.
Okay. This, you kind of addressed this question, but again, you know, that issue started out where the Planning Commission recommended changing that, and the Fiscal Court said, no, we're not doing that. And then the Planning Commission said, no, we don't recommend this, and the Fiscal Court said, we're going to do it anyway.
Well, it wasn't that easy, but yeah.
I'm boiling it down.
Right.
We're on limited time.
Yeah.
So what do you think that means about the process? Is it overly thorough or unnecessarily difficult?
I personally think it's difficult.
Okay.
I think a lot of the processes that we have in
Yeah.
place right now are difficult. You know, it's kind of like a simple zone change. I've seen them take 3-4 months. I don't think, you know, to me, the people who live in our community are customers. And I think we need to do a better job of reacting when they need something. You know, let that be a homeowner, a developer, you know, anybody like that. So I think the whole process needs to be looked at, you know, streamlined a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to build a house, you should have a sheet from A to Z, and once you get those done, it's over. There's no other
Yeah.
questions. And so I think there's some gray area
So you think
there.
you're looking at ways to avoid that situation in the future?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. You know, I mean, we have a couple situations right now that shouldn't be in front of us that are here because of some things we need to improve on.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the comprehensive plan. So can you just tell people, in case there's people here that aren't familiar with what that is, can you tell us the purpose of the comprehensive plan and what the process and the timeline is, and if you're pleased with how that's going?
Yeah, the comprehensive plan is basically a roadmap for where Frankfort and Franklin County goes in the future. You know, I think it's updated every 5 years, but I think the last 1 or 2 they didn't really dive into. So they just kind of looked at it and said it was okay. So I think that's why we're in a couple spots that we are now, because the existing one didn't have any room for growth. So basically, it's a group of people that were kind of picked from a lottery system and some officials and a separate business that's running it that meets and talks about it and tries to get surveys and things like that. I do wish they would do, they've done 2 public meetings. I don't know if they're reaching everybody. I know the one that was done in Louisville, they literally went around to every church and local group.
Yeah.
They had like 87 meetings.
Right.
And I know it's probably more money, but I just want to make sure that what we get is what we need.
Okay.
Because I don't want to waste time. They're saying it's going to take like 2 years.
Yeah.
Which I think is a lot longer than I thought it would take. But I think now they're looking at doing a housing assessment too, because I know housing's kind of been an issue. So we're trying to figure out the needs of Franklin County.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you about Buffalo Trace. So, for those who may not be in the know, Buffalo Trace has proposed expansion into the Peaks Mill area. And some people are saying that in making a decision, it comes down to 2 different things, the questions. First of all, are you in favor of allowing bourbon warehouses to be built in the agricultural and rural residential areas of Franklin County? But separate from that, do you support doing that with the text amendment?
That's like 2 huge questions,
Yeah.
And part of the reason we're here is because lack of planning.
Yeah.
Probably on their part, on our part, because everyone should have known this is coming. This should have been taken care of 5-10 years ago, as far as knowing they're going to expand and where they can expand. So, we spent the last year, I'll jump all around here, I guess.
Okay, I'll sit back.
Yeah, you sit back. But we spent the last year working on that text amendment, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we find out per KRS statute that we legally can't even vote on it because an applicant is not allowed to put in for a text amendment. It can only be the Planning Commission, the Fiscal Court, or the landowner. So
Okay.
that's why it just stopped. And so I don't know how and why we got here. I'm not an attorney or anything like that. I do know we support Buffalo Trace in this community. They do a lot of things. I think there's 600 employees or something there. But I think it comes down to communication. Because nothing official has really come across our desk. I would love to sit down with them, the community, and say, what do you need? How can we help? Why do you want to go here and not there? How much land do you need? Do you need 100 acres? Do you need 1,000 acres? I still don't know those things. But we know it's going to come back in front of us, so
Yeah.
we still can't get into the weeds per our county attorney, because he's like, we have to be careful here. You need to stay somewhat educated about it, but until the facts are
Yeah.
in front of everybody and we have them all together.
Voting aside, what do you support?
Well, I can't say. I just told you that.
You can separate yourself. I won't hold you to your
Yeah,
vote.
no, I can't. I'll get in trouble. So
Okay.
I think it can be worked out. I
Okay.
really do. I think putting the right people around the table and saying, what can we do to support you? And if they hear, the community's questions,
Right.
I think it can be worked out. It's just leadership.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll move on.
that's fine.
Okay. At the Fiscal Court, can you explain to us what is the process for making appointments to commissions and things like that? And what are your requirements for people that you would appoint to boards and commissions?
So I'm not big on like appointments, I think the statute's set up that, people are on different boards that basically represent the Fiscal Court. So the way it's set up now is people can go online, and it's finally online. They can go online and request, hey, there's going to be a board opening next month. And so literally they fill an application out just like you would a job application. And so then they come to the Fiscal Court, and if it's, one committee, that specializes in that, board, then they might meet prior and then just bring it to the Fiscal Court and say, we recommend, Joe Smith for this appointment. And then typically some of the magistrates will ask, how many applicants were turned in? Did we advertise for it? Because ultimately we want the best person
Right.
that we can find
Right.
to represent us on that board, because they're an arm of the Fiscal Court.
So is it the county judge's job to kind of narrow down the applications to present to the
Yes,
fiscal
but
court?
typically I think what we've been doing lately, and unfortunately we haven't been getting as many applications as we want, but, I think we've been real good about, the committees have been looking at them. There might be 3 to 5 or
Yeah.
1 to 2 or,
Yeah.
and so it's pretty open. I think it's pretty transparent when
Yeah.
it gets to that point. But
Okay.
as far as me, I want to do a thorough job of really putting it out there and trying to get people to fill applications out that, like I think there's somebody, on the Peaks Mill now that's kind of an attorney, and that's what they were missing. And that's been a big benefit for us.
Okay.
So, kind of identifying what those boards are missing and then trying to fill the gap with our appointments.
I got you. All right. Let me see. We're getting close to the end.
Really?
So I'm like, is there
We're just
anything else
getting
I need to
started.
get in here?
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you this: are there any decisions or steps the fiscal court has taken that, looking back now, you would have done differently?
Is there any steps that we would have done differently? I don't believe so.
Okay.
It's really interesting because you can sit there and watch Fiscal Court on TV and you see little bits, but you don't see the stack of papers that we had to read and the testimonies and things. So I feel confident with all of my decisions as far as, my votes and things like that. I think people can kind of look at it and say, oh, he voted this way and that's not right. But, I think if they took the time to really research what all went into it and everything, they would understand a little bit better. So, but you just have to have thick skin at that point. But no, I feel good about the last 3.5 years. I feel proud to represent the 3rd District, and I think hopefully I've done a good job.
Okay. Well, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you address our viewers directly and tell them why they need to vote for you on November 8th.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Again, I want to thank the plant board for
course.
putting this on. Being a business owner has taught me a lot about leadership, and it's key to success. We must be able to set and meet goals for our community. My experience working with a diverse group of people, from architects to laborers, from mechanics to bookkeepers, will help me exceed in this position. I'm committed 110%. From the time of serving on the American Red Cross Board to chairing the Frankfurt Area Chamber of Commerce, I'm willing to step away from our family business to help lead day-to-day operations and set goals that need to be met. A business that we started from the ground up, from digging trenches with a shovel to being the owner. I've never been politically appointed to a job, and just because somebody is appointed doesn't make them an expert. Is this going to be an easy task? Absolutely not. But it is what must happen if we're going to do big things here in Franklin County. So to find more about my campaign, please visit MuellerForJudge.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook. You can send me an email at MuellerForJudge@gmail.com. Or if you just want to pick up the phone and give me a call, it's 502-320-3873. So at this time, I will humbly ask for your support and your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and appreciate you coming here and taking some time to talk to our viewers.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Sure. And I appreciate you for watching. It's important to get informed, and that's why we're here. Because once you get informed, then you can go vote on November 8th. And after you vote, go home and turn it on Channel 10 and watch the election returns. We'll have them live from the county clerk's office that night. It's election season, so we're here to get informed and then go vote, because your vote is your voice, and it's time to use it.